Hello, good morning to you, and many thanks for joining us. You're watching Galaxy today, coming to you from Galaxy Television. My name is Justin Akadone.
And no doubt he's joined by Uche Onyekulige. As usual, it's Thursday, and of course on Thursday we try to get a bit more friendly. Looking at making our lives better. And today we'll be looking at self-leadership amongst other things, right, Justin?
Yes, we'll be looking at self-leadership and what do you need to know about self-leadership? How is it different from self-consciousness and bragging as it is? And of course, you can be a leader without even knowing that you have that inherent qualities. Just listen, and it promises to be very exciting, very informative and educational. That's on the one side. We'll also be looking at something equally as interesting on the show this morning, talking about family finances.
Yes,
managing the money in the house. I feel some people say women are better money managers. Do you believe that, Uche?
Well, I don't think there's actually a law or some kind of rules or regulation guidance. Okay. Every marriage has its own tradition, so it depends. But if you ask me, I think I'll choose the ladies.
Yes, and you know one thing again that baffles me about when we talk about personal finances is what they say. My money is my money, his money is our money.
That is not my intention. I understand it from the scriptures that we are created to help and say. If the scripture says both of you are one, then there is no separation. There's nothing is mine, nothing is ours.
Everything should be open, just all the cards should be laid on the table.
Exactly.
All right, it promises to be very interesting, and of course you can be a part of this conversation. Over time, you can send an SMS if you have a question, if you just want to contribute, or interact with us via our various social media platforms using the hashtag Galaxy Today. All right, we have a guest with us here in Lagos.
Exactly, just the right guest for the topic. And then a whole lot of us get confused when it comes to leadership. I've heard people talk about temperaments. That some temperaments are more inclined to leadership positions. And when it comes to self, he has nothing to do with temperament after all. Or we have Reverend Tunde Afe, a life and leadership coach, who will be taking us through self-leadership and, of course, into managing family finances. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Galaxy Today.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we're looking at self-leadership. A whole lot of people, or we hear that it is before you can associate with people or relate well with people, you must have loved yourself or understand yourself to a point, and at that rate, you'll be able to relate better with people. But your own opinion when it comes to self-leadership, how do I go about leading myself right?
Thank you very much. First, we need to look at what is leadership.
Okay.
Leadership is simply influence. That is the capacity to influence other people. Somebody said that the capacity to influence other people, to make them do what they would not ordinarily do, and for them to love it. That's leadership. And then we can now then apply this to, for example, when we talk about self-leadership, that is, how do I lead myself? And then if leadership is influence, then self-leadership will now be the capacity to influence myself, to influence my thinking, my attitude, my emotions, so that I could be the best that God created me to be. And then when it comes to self-leadership, if you can't lead yourself, then you are not qualified to lead other people.
Okay, let us bring it home. Sorry to just put in here. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead other people. All right. A lot has been said concerning the leadership and the governance issue that we have in Nigeria. The average Nigerian will say it's always the problem of leadership. Those are the helms of affairs. They're not managing us well. So what you're saying, if I got you correctly, if I have to infer, so far the crop of leaders that we have who are not really leading right, they've not been able to handle their own issues right.
Yes. The leadership quality or the quality of leadership that we have in Nigeria currently is, I would say, it's just a reflection of who we are. Okay. Because the leadership of a country is not better than the people. So as a people, we cannot therefore cast aspersion on whoever leads us because we elected them. And then when we see that those who are leading currently are not doing it well, then the responsibility is on us all to change them.
Okay.
and put the right people there. And then constitutionally, it has been, it's very easy to change them
Okay.
through the use of the voters card.
Voters card, okay.
If somebody is not leading well, this is a democracy. So what do? Elections be coming, then you go to the polls and use your voters card.
Okay.
You know, but then let me add. But the interesting thing also is that a lot of us who complain that leadership is bad
Yes.
don't even have voters card. It means therefore that if you're complaining and you don't have the power, the instrument to effect that change,
Yes.
you will just continue to complain.
All right, well said.
Okay, well said. But then let's still look at the inward person. I mean, a whole lot of people think, or I'm of the school of thought that to build or to become a better person in life, you need to make yourself, how do I put it now? Maybe avail yourself to a whole lot of learning. So I'd like you to take us through the process of how to help, as in how to make you or how to help yourself leadership. What and what are you supposed to do to help you become a better leader, as in leading yourself now than before leading others?
Well, the starting point at leading yourself well, it's what I call self-discipline. You know, because self-discipline is very important. If you cannot discipline yourself to do something, then it's going to be difficult for you to develop self-leadership. Somebody said that self-discipline is doing what you have to do when you have to do it, either you like it or not. For example, as we're coming here, I was telling them in the car that, you know, I'm feeling asleep. I want to sleep. But then I can't sleep at this time because there's something at stake.
Okay.
Even though what I wanted to do is to sleep, but I have to force myself to come here because this is very important. Now that's self-leadership. One, now when people now yield to that inclination, you know, to do what they shouldn't have done, you know, you see that self-discipline is absent. So you cannot really not lead yourself until when you are able to discipline yourself to do what you have to do. Look at that, what you have to do. You know, when you have to do it, either you like it or not. So that's the starting point, you know, for self-leadership. And then we now look at the individual. You look at your attitude. When it comes to your attitude, self-leadership is important. You know, you don't, it has been said that people love to hang around, you know, people who bring out the best in them.
Okay.
And before you can bring out the best in others, you should have been able to bring out the best in you. And then this cannot happen if you don't have the right attitude. And the right attitude is not something that somebody can help you develop. You know, I can teach you to do something, but eventually, if you don't want to do it, you won't do it.
Okay.
So your attitude must be right. Your attitude must be the kind of attitude that attract people, the kind of attitude that you know, somebody that people want to be around.
Okay.
And then, okay.
Okay, speaking of attitude and people, because I want to break it down to maybe school politics back in the day at the university days. You know, a lot of people, they just have this tendency to have people around them, and when they talk, a lot of people, you know, just listen to them, but they don't really know some of those qualities that they have. Over time, you now hear about the kingmakers trying to draw them into politics, but for those people, I mean, do they really need people before they can see what they have in them?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, sometimes some people have some qualities that they know they have, but they are not bold enough, you know, to use the qualities they have. For those kind of individuals, they will now need people who can help them to see what they have, and who can also instill in them the boldness and the confidence to be able to use what they have. And then when it now comes to politics, yeah, I mean, back in the days, I was involved a little bit, you know, in student politics, and then there were some people that, you know, they talk, you know, people listen to them. But you see, leading people is much more than that.
Okay.
You know, because we have seen a lot of these people that, even though people listen to them, but when it comes to, you know, the competence of leadership, because it's one thing to talk, It has been said that talk is cheap.
Nothing to add.
Yeah, so for somebody like me, I don't easily get carried away by sweet talk. After you have spoken, I like to really look at your life, look at what you have done, look at what you are doing, because to just talk is cheap. And some people are just gifted, with that ability to talk. When they talk, people listen. But you see, talking will not necessarily lead to good governance when it comes to politics now, and talking will not necessarily lead to competence. It has been said that in leadership, two things are important: the character of the leader, and then the competence of the leader. Okay. Some people have character, but they don't have the competence. Some don't have the character. They have the competence. But for you to see effective leadership at work, then it has to be the combination of.
But can you learn either of both? Can you learn to have competence?
Yeah, leadership is not. Yeah, some people have said that leaders are born. I believe that everyone can be a leader.
All right. Leadership
is something that you can learn. For example, when I was growing up, I wasn't the outgoing type. Okay. You understand? So to say, I was an introvert. Oh. But over time, I have learned to function in any role that falls upon me at any point in time. Right. So leadership can be learned. It's not just that some people are born to lead. Then if some people are born to lead, it means that some people are just born to serve. But everybody is a leader. For example, in your area of competence, all right? If you're competent in one area and I am not, you are my leader in that area. Particularly if I need that competence. Okay. Then you have to influence me. I have to listen to you. I have to defer to you because I need what you have that I don't have. So by the time you look at it, you discover that God in his wisdom created, the world like that, so that you have some things that I don't have. I have some things you don't have. So eventually, you have to depend on me in some way. I have to depend on her in some way. And then all of us depend on one another in some way. So you now find that everybody is leading and everybody is following.
Okay, so where does the role of mentors come in here? When do you think you need, or do you think it's necessary?
Yeah, mentorship is very necessary, because somebody said that if I've seen any father, it's because I stood on the shoulders of fathers. That's what mentorship is all about. And mentorship is so important because there are some people who have done what you want to do. And because they have done what you want to do, they can easily tell you what to do. There are some who learn by trial and error. You don't necessarily have to do that. Okay. Somebody said that experience is the best teacher, but I would say that experience of other people that you learn from is the best teacher. Okay. Because if you want to experience something, you might not really live to tell the story. Somebody says, well, I want to experience what it feels to have a car accident. Well, if he's lucky, he can survive it, but he can also die. So that experience has not benefited him in any way. True. So it's better to look at the experience of other people. That's why you need mentors, so that people can guide you. They can hold you by the hand and lead you to where they have gone through. I normally say that leadership is going the way and leading the way. Okay. Now, even at that, you now see that there is this self-leadership that is going the way. And you now come back to lead other people on that way. So mentorship is very important. It cuts your effort short. It reduces a lot of wastages, because if you have to learn from the scratch, you will have to invest so much. But if you have people who have gone ahead of you that you can learn from, then you are blessed.
How about the place of companies, friends, and them?
Oh yeah, funny enough, there are some of your friends that can also be your mentors. A mentor does not necessarily mean somebody who is older than you. In fact, sometimes you are older than somebody that knows what you don't know. Okay. You should be humble enough. That again is self-leadership. You should be humble enough to say, well, he knows what I don't know, and I'm ready to learn from him. So your friends too can be your mentor. It's not necessarily somebody who's older than you. If they know what you don't know, you want to learn what they know, then you just have to defer to them and learn from them.
Okay, I still want us to bring it home now. In all of this, now, how can we, look at the whole concept of self-leadership and tailor it towards improving the issues of leadership that we have in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Self-leadership, how can we use that to affect positively,
Yes.
what we have in the country? Well, I mean, you have found severally, cases of people who were voted for, and then by the time they are done with their offices or with their terms, they've looted the treasury, they've stolen money. You find that self-leadership is lacking there.
Okay.
Yeah, because you see, if you have been able to lead yourself, yes, I've been put in charge of money that belongs to everybody.
Yes.
It is self-discipline, all right, for you to have the, how do I put it now? The chance to take the money, but you refuse to take it. Now, I normally say, if you look at our country the way it is now, even the constitution gives room for stealing. For example, somebody embezzles money, and then government now says, or EFCC comes and says, okay, let's do plea bargain. He stole 5 billion. It's okay, return 2 billion. Now, look at that. Now, somebody can now say, okay, well, the system is so porous, I can steal 5 billion, I'll return 3 billion, then I'm cool. But somebody who has self-leadership will say, even though the constitution allows that I steal, but I will still not steal because of my self-leadership, self-discipline, and character.
So you're saying that self-leadership consists of integrity,
Yeah.
self and discipline,
Yeah.
Attitude?
Attitude, character, good character, because those things are very, very important. Because sometimes when you find leaders who are heartless, that part of their leadership is absent. Because some people just feel that leadership is just leading other people. No, it is much more than that. It starts with leading yourself. You understand? For example, if somebody else is in government, is maybe the governor of a state, all right, and that person has empathy. That is able to put the people or put himself in the place of the people. He'll be able to feel what they feel, particularly the class of the populace that is really, really suffering. If he has empathy, which is self-leadership, he'll be able to feel what they feel. And then if he's able to do that, then when he gets to government, he knows exactly what to do to take the suffering of the people away.
Okay.
But what you find is that a lot of our people don't have that. So when they get there, they don't feel what the people feel.
Okay.
So instead of now using power to serve, they now use power to serve themselves.
Exactly where I wanted us to look at. I know we're talking about self-leadership, but let's look at it from the area of service now.
Yeah.
How do you serve yourself? Because we know that leaders are servers.
Yeah.
You're called to serve.
Yeah.
So my question is in two ways now. Making people understand the place of a server as a leader, and how do you serve yourself when it comes to self-leadership?
Yeah. I mean, serving yourself, that's all about all we've been talking about. Serving yourself, number one, you as an individual have the responsibility to make yourself a good person. You have that responsibility. For example, as a wife, you have the responsibility to make yourself become a good woman, a good wife. As a husband, I have that responsibility. Serving myself does not mean that being a servant to myself. It means that building myself, developing myself, such that I become a good product, to anyone that comes around me. It could be people that I work with in the office. It could be in the family. It could even be as a leader in government. It could also be that. So eventually, if you are able to serve yourself well, you will also be able to serve others well.
All right, it's still Galaxy today. Just to remind you that you can be a part of this conversation, and feel free to interact with us via our social media platforms using the hashtag Galaxy Today. And of course, you can also send us SMS. If you have questions you want to ask our guests in the studio, we're looking at self-leadership and ultimately governance in Nigeria. So how can we translate all of that self-leadership into getting good governance and good leadership and of course good fellowship in Nigeria? Just do that and we will take your messages. We have one here already. This one is from Mayor Abba, or from Abba in Abia State. He says, a competence aspect of leadership is very encouraging and should be adopted, screened in all our political positions. You agree with that?
Thank you very much. That's very correct. You know, because, well, I don't want to mention names. There's a time that we were agitating in this country, you know, to have a leader that has integrity. But now we have found that integrity is not enough. You know, competence has to be there.
All right.
So the competence aspect is very important. But then, mayor shouldn't also forget that it is a character, you know, that eventually carries the competence. The character is the foundation, you know, upon which the competence is built. So if we only look at competence, we have a lot of leaders who are competent, but who do not have character. He can be competent, can do roads, good roads, and still steal money. That's still not good. Yes.
But still looking at the Nigerian sector, I'm just saying all of this because a new dispensation will be on very soon, and this is a political year, election year, and a lot of Nigerians will be going out en masse to vote the next set of leaders that will be governing the country and state in the next 4 years as it is now. But looking at all of this and looking at this present dispensation, how would you x-ray, how would you analyze what we have as leadership in the country right now, and how do we move forward?
Thank you very much. Well, looking at what we have as leadership in the country presently, it's, we brought ourselves to this point. And I would say that we also have the responsibility to take ourselves beyond this point.
Okay.
You know, what I would say to, particularly to the voters out there, is that, you know, when you want to vote this time around, and I'll look at both qualities, competence, character. Now, competence, what has somebody done before? You know, what is his, antecedent?
Antecedent,
you
yes.
know, where is he coming from? You know, we have a lot of folks now that you just coming, we don't know where they're coming from. And then because they have a lot of money to throw around, you know, so they seize power. And then we have seen what that has done to Nigeria. I also want to say something. You know, recently a lot of young people in Nigeria, they have been agitating for the youth to take over. The youth has always been in power. I mean,
have we always been in power?
We have always been there. I mean, the present crop of leaders we have in the country, some of them became governors when they were 30, in their 30s, in their 40s. It's just that those youth of those days, they've tasted power, so they don't want to leave the place.
That's corrupted, absolutely.
Exactly. You know, they don't want to leave the place.
Okay.
But then, we will not be agitating if they've done well. We are agitated because they've not done well. And leading a country is not rocket science, honestly. It's not. Nigeria is complex, but it's not just rocket science.
Now, aside from just the national level, we can also look at various state levels and, of course, even the local government.
Yes, it's not rocket science. You know, for example, I'm also a farmer.
Okay.
I have 1,000 hectares of farm in Ekiti State, and then we discovered that the herdsmen invaded my farm and all of that. So what did we do? I had to hire hunters to go there and protect the farm. Now, ordinarily, government should have done that. You understand? Government should have done that to encourage entrepreneurs, all of those who are going to farming. Okay. And that's not rocket science. All you have to do, mobilize the people that will protect the farm, and then they're there. So it's not rocket science. So, and then I read the book, very interesting book. I would not mention the name of the author. In concluding that book, he said that his researches into how leaders are chosen in Nigeria shows that when these people sit down together, they don't talk about competence or character. The first thing they consider is which region is power going to go to. Okay. Can you imagine that? Now, they don't say, okay, Justin, All right, you are competent, you have the character, we are voting for you. The first thing they will say, where is Justin from? Is he an Igbo man? Is he a Yoruba man? Is he Hausa? And for me, that's unacceptable.
Okay.
You know, we are not going to have a nation that we are proud of until we move away from this myopic thinking.
Okay, we have some questions for you here. A lot of people have sent in questions. Let me see if I can take some of them. One of them has asked this morning if age has anything to do with this leadership that we're talking about. Please don't call this number. If you want to interact with us, just send us an SMS and we will read out all your messages. This one is from Tunde Afe. He says, with all these brilliant ideas from your guests, will he be ready to go into governance to help people? So I have two in one questions for you here. If age has a role to play in leadership, and with all your brilliant ideas, would you be willing to go into governance to help people?
Oh, definitely. I mean, one of the problems we have had, you know, in the past is that a lot of good people run away from politics. And I normally say that politics has no character of its own. Politics is neutral. It takes upon itself the character of those who play it. It means that when bad people are left to play it, then it's bad. But when good people play it, then it's good. So, well, if I have the point to go into government to serve, definitely I will.
All right, more questions. What's the panacea to the leadership hullabaloo in Nigeria? That's one. Secondly, Jude Imagwara wrote, says, don't you think this aspect of leadership, self-competence and others, should be part of our constitution?
I think, well, if you look at the constitution very well, it's already part of it. It's just that people you know, willfully sometimes, you know, set the constitution aside to follow what they feel is okay for them.
Okay.
What is the solution to the problem of leadership in Nigeria?
Yes.
Well, I just mentioned one.
Okay.
You know, until we depart from that myopic mentality, you know, that before we now say, okay, are you qualified to contest for president, for example? The first thing we are looking at is here, Hausa man. Even if it's Hausa, where in the north, you know.
Okay.
So nobody is looking at, is he competent? Does he have the character? And the constitution makes it clear that if you're a Nigerian, you're competent, you have the character, and you are of age,
yes, then
you can vie for that position. So until we move away from that, because you see that is foundational to our problem.
Okay.
You know, that's why they don't really care if is a good material. Once it's from a part of the country, then they put it. Some of them will say that, well, when it gets there, then maybe we can help him to perform.
But then again, still looking at competence right now, talking about character competence, you might have character and competence level now for youths who maybe not necessarily have really had so much, you know, like I say, experience in the governance of the country. Are you saying right now that they may not be able to do much since they don't really have much of a competence per se when it comes to governance in Nigeria?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you don't have competence, for example, you are a broadcaster because you have competence. You know, if you don't have competence, the galaxy that you work for will not put you on that seat. Okay. You're on that seat because you have the competence. And then I'm sure you're also on that seat because you have sustained that competence with your character over time. You know, so let's just lift it from this small level and translate that to the governance of the state. You know, so we